so happy and glad to be as part of this team. So stay blessed and God always bless you.
Okay, thank you so much for the insightful words of encouragement, and we really appreciate. Our aim is to make sure that our continent is transformed and make sure that the youth are the one leading. And yeah, our voices are heard. So that's all about what African Foundation Scholars Network is doing to make sure that these narratives of Africa is going to be changed. And basically, this is what we are doing, right? We need to put ourselves within our continent and make sure that our stories are told by ourselves, not the whites, right? And they bear the authenticity and the positivity side of ours, not always negativity about Africa. So this is all about us, and yeah, basically about that. Thank you so much, Panom, for the insightful words of encouragement. And yes, I see John Kuch.
Okay, like before I dive into my questions, I will reflect to what I learned in primary when I was in primary five. So when I joined, I learned that Africa was called a dark continent, and the reason was that little was known about it. So what do you think, or what could have been the challenges that limited more information to be had by the Westerners about Africa?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yes, our continent was known as the Dark Continent, basically before the this modern time of composing of technology, other things, right? And yeah, your question is based on because Africa, as we know right now, uh, it was because we are always backward. You get so we are known by the Europeans, by the white people, as a backward continent. And in doing that, because we lack so much of the things that we also know here, and even when we also dive into our stories, how they're also narrated outside there by the whites, it's a different space. So we are always being referred to as a continent of negativity, a continent that needs so much to improve on. And yeah, your question is just within the modern time and also the traditional time. So the of the days ago, our continent was dark. There was so much of the things that we are lacking. But currently, I think now there is a little bit of change that you have seen. So basically, that's all about it. Thank you, Lazarus.
Thank you for the opportunity again. Before any farewell, I would like to first know from you whether my network was okay or it was a little bit disturbing because where I am currently, network is not so very much. Whenever you try MTN or digital, it will not work out very well. Wi-Fi.
Recording in progress.
So please, would you mind if you let me know?
Lazarus, we can't hear you. I think you have network issues.
Okay, Tawanda. Oh, sorry, forgive me if I didn't call your name.
Tawanda.
Thank you. Actually, you got the name right. Mine is a contribution regarding John Kuchi's question. Apologies if I got the name incorrect. He's asking about why so little is known about Africa and why it was labeled as a dark continent. Well, I think the challenge comes when we're adopting an educational system that's made by the outsiders. So intrinsically, this educational system is made to make us, well, basically, let me use this word, stupid. Because if there's a wise man who said, a man who's literate is a stupid man. Because sometimes the moment you get wiser on the basis of literature, that's also how you become less wiser on the basis of, take for example, Pan-Africanism. So one of the things that we can do to make sure that the world know more about Africa would be to change the narrative from the basis of education. So that's going to take policymaking in terms of the content that we learn and who's telling the story in the content that our children learn. And even geographically, if you check that Europe's maps showed Africa's vast interior as blank with only coastal regions that were reliably charted. And even with tropical diseases like malaria and yellow fever, they basically are given the roots of Africa. And the term dark continent itself reflected a Eurocentric prejudice, casting Africa as a mysterious continent. And that was most likely coming from a racial perspective as well. I believe it was racial labeling more than it is just mere labeling. And historically, I read an article that talked about how in mid-19th century expeditions by people like David Livingstone gradually eliminated rivers and forests. And this is actually an account of writing that was actually affirming to the fact that Africa is a dark continent. So we may need to rewrite that, well, let me call it a fact, because it was spoken so much that it became a fact even for Africans.
Okay, thank you so much, Tawalda. That was great. That was great contribution. And yes, that is all about our continent, and we all know the story behind our continent till dates. And now this is where we need ourselves to come up with our voices and making sure that our voices matters, making sure that our voices carries positivities, right? And yeah, to change the narratives of Africa and how these white people perceive our continent as a whole. So basically, this is all about this is our responsibility, and we must make sure that the continent it is the rightful stage and is in the rightful movement, right? And it's in the hands of youth. Youth are the ones who are capable of making this change and bringing the positivity within the continent. We all know about our narratives, and this is the reason as to why we need to stand up for ourselves and making sure that things are in place. Yeah, basically that's it. So thank you so much for sharing.
All right, thank you so much. Just to add something, African is considered low because most of us, we depend on foreign aid, and you know that when you are depending on foreign aid, for you to be given grants, you have to just lower yourself, do anything possible for you to be considered in investment. And we African, we were not capable of ourselves, just cut up our own living. So we depend on white and European communities to give us grants so that we can succeed. And when you are given that chance, you lower yourself. You don't even speak up because you need something from other party. But as young African now, we don't need that. We have to work for ourselves. We don't need grant from US, from European countries. We just need to speak up because it is our role to change the continent. Despite of whatsoever, we just need to speak up because grant from America or European countries cannot make us progress unless we do it ourselves. Thank you so much.
I hope we really had a good session so far. For me, I want to just give some sum up or just like a throwaway insight. I have really enjoyed the session. Yeah, you guys have exhausted most of the things that we really need to do and to put much effort on. Based on like what Jurukusha brought up, talking about like how Africa were termed to be a dark a continent. This was just like ideology that was brought by European, based on like the living standard that we were having. We were having a lot of races in the different countries in Africa, fighting over now and then. So these were how they term us, and we were seeking for the aid, as Abraham put it on. So I really believe, guys, you have really contributed well, and I believe we can do something better for Africa and the future generation that will come. Thank you for the time. Have a good day, and see you tomorrow again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for everyone. I think we have contributed and we have exhausted much of the things that we need to see those. Now it's your chance, right? Share your story. Um, share maybe the African story and where you see yourself, right? Because